Good evening. Good evening. It's a late good evening, and I apologize for that. It's trying to get things back up and running the way they once did. It's not easy, although now I do have, lucky for you all, got a synth looped into the mix. And a loop pedal in the mix, which I don't know if I'm going to actually do anything with that loop pedal, but it's there. Happy Saturday night. Check this out. Ready? That's right. Just like in the good old days. Can we read 90 calories? I'm trying to lose weight. I've in the past two years, I gained 15 pounds. And people may be like, it's not a lot, what are you doing? You're making us feel bad or whatever. If you weigh a lot, if you're much more overweight than that, right, then you feel like I'm making fun or something, right? Or making light of your situation. It's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to arrest the process. And the Cokes have never helped. But 90 calories is better than 160 calories, which is what I think a full Coke is. Anyway, I'm sorry for being late, but like some crazy shit has been happening for the last over the last 4 or 5 hours. Insane. Kind of terrifying, not sure what it's ultimately going to mean. Don't have enough data and want to look into it occasionally, like as the night goes on. It is it's so abhorrent, and I can't believe that a country would stoop to using drones to attack another country. That's something only one of those nations over there would do. One of them nations where you got sand everywhere. One of them nations. You know the ones I'm talking about. Are using drones? That's not right. They're not supposed to do that. Yeah. That's you. Iran, I gotta say, you're stealing the United States' material by using drones. How dare you? I mean, it's obviously it's fucking horrible, and I don't mean to make light of something that is unequivocally bad, right? But some of the outrage that I'm seeing seems to be like aimed at what is essentially they're labeling it terrorist warfare, right? But the U.S. has been doing it, since drones were capable of doing it. And when we do it, it's all right. When we do it, it's because we're getting the bad guys. They're coming after the good guys. We use them to go after the bad guys. So, you want to hear how old I am? I can recall, I guess I was in 5th or 6th grade, maybe. The Iran hostage negotiations were going on. And I recall having a school assembly. This might have been like at a graduation or something like that, where one of the priests, I even remember his name. His name is Father Hingston. one of them got up and talked about the situation, and this was shortly after the negotiations got the hostages released. And Father Hingston told a joke to my school, which was St. Stephen's Episcopal Day School, Coconut Grove, Florida. It's still there. My name is still on a... it's on a plaque for winning a spelling bee or coming in second in a spelling bee, and it's misspelled. Kind of a funny tidbit. Anyway, he was telling a story, or he was referencing the events that were going on, and he fictitiously made up a story about how one of his fellow brothers in the priesthood, however they refer to each other, I've forgotten most of the terminology, is, a great way to turn someone into an atheist? Send them to a religious school for 10 years. Like, you're gonna beat that spirituality right out of them. They're never going back. But anyway, the story that he told was that one of the brothers in the priesthood got to speak to one of the hostages when they were released, and they asked him, like, how did you manage to get released? What did you do? What strategies did you employ? Like, what sort of things were, like, you were tied up or whatever? Were you able to blink Morse code like the Vietnam vet did, or what did you do? And the hostage answered, I ran. This is a real joke that my priest actually told at my 5th or 6th grade graduation or some kind of event like that. And I remember it because I remember thinking at the time, that's an awful joke. That is freaking terrible and not funny, I was young enough, I think, that anything that humanized the priests at all might have had some novelty value, I suppose. But that was about it, right? So maybe come around and start using that joke again. Or maybe we don't tell jokes about it. Maybe that's the solution there. So I don't know what's going on right now. Last time I checked was 40 minutes ago or so, 45 minutes ago. Trying to get, I had to get this thing set up. So was it worth it? I don't know. Probably not. But I guess it is terrifying. I don't know what exactly constitutes a drone attack. Apparently there are ballistic missiles as well. Let me check up on. Let me go to Fox News and see what's being said. Oh my God, it's Biden's fault. Biden did it. Okay, so a lot of them have been intercepted. I mean, we're not gonna get like a really good. They're not gonna want to. If the strike was effective, they're not gonna want to let that information get out. So we're gonna hear that the strike probably wasn't very effective. Although maybe they're gonna want to. The story we're gonna get is whatever feeds the narrative that they want fed, and if they want it to be that a lot of people died and therefore we need to be outraged, that's what we'll hear. And if the narrative is, look how good our air defense systems work, then we'll hear that. Although we do have embedded reporters on the ground. Nick Robertson reports from Jerusalem. It's not hear a commercial, please. Hey. Hey, Deadly Nightshade. Hey, Stacy, Catherine, Charlie, Maddie. It's good to see you all. I guess I gotta hear it. Let's mute the commercial. I have my favorite tappy skull.
More in the distance, that perhaps that phase of missiles that was intercepted.
The Iron Dome intercepted some of the Iranian drones. This is according to CNN. And CNN never lies.
Multiple detonations again of what sound like intercepts in the sky. I am not, and I should be very clear about this, I am not hearing the sound of impacts. I am not hearing the sound of things hitting and detonating on the ground. What we're hearing at the moment are the detonations of the outgoing, it sounds like Iron Dome intercepts.
So what do you think, what's the response going to be to this? Right? Like, what's Israel's response going to be to this? What's the U.S.'s response going to be? Wait, I mean, in an election year, what is Biden's response going to be to this? Right? Like, these are when the hawks come out, or when there's an election on the line. You gotta be a hawk or an owl. You could be an owl. Let's refer to him as an owl. A wise old owl. An old owl. Maybe wise isn't. Just an old owl. So what would be the response? It's hard for me to foresee, like, it has to be a show of force, right? Like, we have to meet, I mean, what we should do is nothing. Like, we set ourselves up for this, right? But what is actually going to happen is there's going to be a display of force commensurate with something far worse, and nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. Who cares? Because it's over there. It's way across the pond. So what I wanted to do tonight, I'm still going to do it. Like, life moves on over here on our little isolated bubble that is the contiguous 48. Well, I guess it's all 50, right? I want to do the Stephen King tier list. I've been reading the dude since I was 7. 7 or 8. I think I've read everything he's ever written. And I have thoughts. Stephen King is definitely, I mean, he's been around so long. But it's interesting because, well, when someone is around that long and is as prolific as he is, he's changed so much in a way that is not, you can't really define it by just saying it's progress. It's not that he's just like getting better at his craft. You might argue, I mean, I guess you're replacing the sort of youthful, shocky, almost like exuberance in the prose, right? With more and more and sort of increasingly more. You can actually you could probably roughly gauge how old a Stephen King book is by how much it talks about baseball, or how much it talks about things that happened in the 50s. And the more it focuses on those nostalgic elements, I think, you're later in the career. And I'm not saying that that's bad. In fact, I quite enjoy it. I don't love it when he goes on about baseball. And I don't love his fantasy books either. I liked the first 3 Gunslingers, and then so you want to, books I have not read, like the last couple of Gunslinger books, I think after Wolves the Cal or something like that. I think after the 4th book, I stopped because I just like this. Now this is just like bad. It was reminding me of the kind of fantasy fiction I read as a child, which was fine when I was a child. It reminded me of like fairy tale or Squaring the Circle, or the sort of like Tolkien-y ripoffs, or the Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold, like books that often revolved around a kid who something happens and they wake up in a fantasy realm, right? Or they cross over into a fantasy realm. Something happens. They build a tree house, and there's a door in the tree house that they don't remember building, and they open it, and they're entering into a fantasy, the Narnia thing, right? When he does that, I lose interest. So maybe there are actually some Stephen King books that I haven't read, but I'm talking about the ones that are actually, well, from my point of view, supposed to be scary. Although some of his more recent books include the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, I guess it is, or one of the guy's name trilogy, Bill Hodges trilogy. And those aren't horror, but or even really, I mean, they're detective books essentially, with a little bit of supernatural thrown in. I'm not a fan of like that Deus. That's why a lot of times, in my opinion, his books fall apart in the last couple of acts, because you got a Deus Ex Machina them with some, weird fantastical elements. Even it did that. But anyway, I've got the tier list here. I would love to hear like people's ideas as well. I would imagine a lot of the people, I would imagine there's a good crossover. People who like Stephen King and people who are here. So let's see if we can get this to work right. I'm going to try it. Okay. Hopefully, maybe. Kind of worked. All right. Let's mute everything in case a ad comes up. The man has written a lot of freaking books. Right? This doesn't feel like all of them. But it's what we're going with. 13, 1, 2, 3, 6, 78 books. Has he written 78 books or more than 78 books? I don't know. But I'm going to jump right in because there's a lot. And man, some of these, I see the covers that they've chosen here are a lot of the newer covers, and they look terrible. Look at this cover of The Stand. You might as well not even have a cover. What the hell? Why even do that? All right, let's start with Carrie. So Carrie, the earliest. Wait, are these done in order? No, these are not done in order. Are they done in order? Yeah, these are done in order. Okay. Great. Why did I think Carrie was? Oh, he wrote Salem's Lot first, but did not publish it. So Carrie was his first published book, but he actually wrote Salem's Lot before he wrote Carrie. So please, share your thoughts if you have thoughts on books here. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of me talking about Stephen King books that I've read and what I think about them. So Salem's Lot I actually reread recently. This is going to be difficult. Let me get a little... No, that's not quite right, is it? Let's... Salem's Lot. So you're moving into new little town, Jerusalem's Lot. Let's get this off the page. And people are acting kind of funny. You don't think much of it, and there's some rich older gentleman who wants to buy a house that's stood vacant for many, many years. He's an art dealer. Or so he says. So I reread Salem's Lot recently. It is difficult to judge in the context of everything that has come after it. It's hard for me not to see the movie or the TV movie or whatever as well. Which, more fool me, but it either established or was kind of concurrent with movies and media that established a lot of the tropes around how vampirism affects culture or affects a town, not instead of just a couple of people, and instead of just Jonathan Harker and Mina, and that I thought was very interesting. That said, though, I wouldn't say I love it. I would say that I think that it's good. I'm putting Salem's Lot in good. Which allows us to... so the story behind Carrie is pretty incredible. Excuse me. At least the one that I know. I think I know. That he disliked it and wanted to throw it out, and his wife Tabitha insisted that he try and get it published. I don't know how anyone could read Carrie and not just be taken from start to finish. Like that is there are a couple of his books that are like that. Carrie, to a lesser extent, Firestarter. Cujo is like that. I'm looking through here right now. Is Pets are not really, no. They're books that are tight and Gerald's Game is like that. Tight, focused, quick. The pace never lets up. I would put Carrie as amazing. I might be being too... I can move these around, right? Yeah, I can move these around. Has everybody has done this? Like, am I contributing anything to anything here by doing this? I don't know, but I'm doing it. Rage. So a lot of people give Rage There go our boys. There go our boys. Here our boys are on their way to stop them Iranian drones. A lot of people say bad things about Rage. It's kind of like Stephen King's Mice and Men, right? So I think this was a Richard Bachman book too. I don't remember it that well, but I remember liking it, and I don't want to spend too much time on the ones that I don't remember that well. But I do recall reading some reviews of it that were negative that I disagreed with. So I guess I'll put this also in good. Am I going to put anything? Yes, I am going to put some in poor. I don't need to worry about that. Fuck y'all. The Shining is amazing. And the Shining movie is amazing. And they're both great. And I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It's insane to me. The Shining, if you read it or you watch it, right, that does not seem like a story from an era of people who are still alive today. It seems timeless. It seems Bram Stoker level. It seems Poe level to me. Freaking love it. And now we get to the first of, I guess, Stephen King's, how many characters can I fit into a books? And how am I going to remember all their names? And a lot of them are going to have last names like Gustafson or Stewart. I could not tell you the names of anybody from The Stand except for Randall Flagg. And, the garbage guy. Garbage guy? Moon, that spells something. I put a Stan joke in the SpongeBob SquarePants game. Patrick said it. Oh, yes, I did it because the guy who does Patrick's voice, Bill Fagerback, I don't know how to say his last name, played the garbage guy in the TV adaptation of The Stand. So I put an MOON spells something. I forget what I put in the SpongeBob game. I'm sure he knew what that was when he read it. To be 20-something and designing a game, thinking you're hot shit. So, Tom Cullen, correct. Yes. Thank you, Deadly Night Shade. So I'm a sucker. I am a sucker for when he writes stories that are essentially have the cast of a small town. Maybe that's playing it too safe, right? Like it's like there's gonna be somebody you're interested in. It's almost George R.R. Martin-ish, you know. But I love a good sort of road movie, and Stan's a good road movie. You know, they go to see there is a magical African American, of course, in The Stand. There's a magical African American in The Shining. Stephen King wrote a lot of magical African Americans. But you know, some amount of blame there is the times, right? But let's say The Stand. Oh, hey, Levy. Hey, Amy. Oh, look, voice quills. That's a good guess, voice quills. It's a good guess. Unfortunately, you're completely wrong. This is not what this is. So I'm going to put The Stand top 5. Top 5. Amazing villain. Like, it's weird when I think of Randall Flagg. Wait a minute. Who's the villain in The Gunslinger? The Man in Black? The Gunslinger's the Man in Black. Who's the Man in... I'm getting... Hold on. I gotta be sure I'm not getting this stuff confused. I am sure I'm getting my villains right. Wait, Randall Flagg is the villain from The Gunslinger. Why do I think Randall Flagg is from The Stand? Oh, he is also from The Stand. Okay. I'm not going crazy. Oh my God, I'm not going crazy. My hair looks different tonight. I just took a shower, so it's actually still kind of wet. So it's just kind of lying there stupidly. Boys, because you've never read a Stephen King book. Have you ever seen a Stephen King movie? Have you ever breathed air? Have you ever tasted the rainbow? Have you ever swam in an ocean of sparkling diamonds? Okay, so here we're going to get a little bit confused. Night Shift. I want to say Night Shift is the collection that has my favorite Stephen King short story of all, which is, well, there's two. My favorite Stephen King short stories are Survivor Type and Spring Heel Jack, or maybe it's called Strawberry Spring. No, Strawberry Spring. Spring Heel Jack, I think. And I think those might both be in Night Shift. I'm gonna have to be looking at verification as I go. And I'm not gonna risk doxing myself. Not gonna do it. Not doing it. Not tonight. Oh, is it the camera? It's flipping me when I go to this other camera. Maybe that's why my hair looks so odd. So I'm being reversed. Okay, that's right. I'm not asking it to flip me there, but... Alright, let's see. Night Shift. What is in Night Shift? So Night Shift has Jerusalem's Lot, Graveyard Shift, which is okay. Night Surf, I don't remember. I Am the Doorway, I don't remember. The Mangler, I remember. The Boogeyman, I remember. Gray Matter, I remember. Battleground, don't remember. Trucks, is that Maximum Overdrive? Yeah, I remember that. Sometimes They Come Back, I remember that. Strawberry Spring, literally one of my favorite Stephen King books, or short stories ever. Strawberry Spring is short story number 11 in this collection. I recommend it. The only movie you've seen is The Mist. You never saw The Shining? Well, Shawshank Redemption is based on a short story that really doesn't have that much. Yeah, I think it's unfair first to say Stephen King can't take credit for the brilliance of the story of the movie Shawshank Redemption. He could take credit for the idea of being in prison and keeping a poster up of Rita Moreno to cover the fact that you're tunneling your way out, because that's essentially what the short story was. Oh God, my hair is funny. Now that you said that, Amy, I'm like obsessed with it. My camera flipped me off. Lawnmower Man, great. Children of the Corn, yeah. Night Shift, fantastic. Night Shift's fantastic. Is it his best short story collection? We'll have to see. I gotta see if I can flip this. No, that's not what I thought that flip button was gonna do. Flip the camera. Camera, flip. I don't want to spend too much time doing this. As always, just deal with it. I'll fix it before the next one. Yeah, I mean, Shawshank, Voice Quills, as I said, like, you can like Shawshank. I don't think it says anything about if you're going to like Stephen King. It's really not, has very little to do with, I think, his work in general. That said, I think you might like Stephen King, although maybe not, but maybe you would. Hey, maybe read Strawberry Spring. I mean, also, saying you're uncultured because you haven't read Stephen King, that's, I don't think anybody's metric of how cultured they are is if they've read Stephen King. Anyway, Night Shift. Let me go ahead and put that in Amazing. Man, Amazing's gonna have a lot in it, isn't it? The Long Walk. So another Richard Bachman book. It's essentially, I mean, it's a death march, right? I read this a long time ago, and I don't remember that much about it. I remember like a few key scenes, although now I don't know. Was there a movie made of this? Maybe I'm remembering the movie. I don't know. I did not read. I didn't read Richard Bachman until it was revealed that Richard Bachman was Stephen King. Make of that what you will. But I'm gonna put The Long Walk in. I'm gonna say average. I do like that it is sort of singular of purpose, right? But something's got to be average. They can't all be great. Now, here's where, like, my personal bias is gonna start coming through. Can I make this bigger? I think this needs to be bigger. I need to be bigger. There. I really do want to flip this. Oh, it's square. Let's make it tall. Oh, no. Ooh, round. No. Let's make it square. Okay. There are several books and movies that play with this trope of I am in love and I'm in love with someone who is in love with me. Like, we are in love. Can I get rid of this ad? Is that really starting to? We are a couple who are very much in love and we're going to live happily ever after. And then, well, bam, one of us gets thrown into a coma for a substantial amount of time. 5 years seems to be typical. And then I'm back. And for me, time didn't really seem to pass. But for you, 5 years went by. You got remarried. You have kids with somebody else. It's like Castaway. Right? But there are others. Right? And The Dead Zone is also like that. It's the same trope. And I remember that really hitting me when I first read it, because I had read it right around the time of my first major breakup with a girlfriend, and it really got to me. And I was just like, that's, she just doesn't realize. She doesn't realize that we were meant to be together. She doesn't realize it. How do I fix this? There's no fixing that. And the Dead Zone has the character of Greg Stilson, who is a damn sight as prescient as you could be about the existence and rise of Donald Trump as you could. This was back in the 70s or the early 80s. And the political figure that rises to power, and the main character is able to, like, kind of, if he touches you, he gets visions of your future. And he touches this politician and he sees that they're going to go mad with power if they become elected president. They're going to start a nuclear war. This is during the Cold War as well. It was good to see you, Voice Quills. Sleep well. So, yeah, very much like in the movie, Martin Sheen played him, and again, this is pre-Donald Trump, but he could have been just playing Donald Trump. Like, that was very much what I was feeling there. So, and I love Christopher Walken. I know we're not talking about the movie, but I cannot completely extricate the movie and the book. And I loved the idea of this dead zone, and it had a great ending. And like I said, a lot of Stephen King's books kind of fall apart at the end. You could argue The Shining kind of falls apart at the end. Carrie doesn't. The Stand, I don't know. I mean, it suffered a little from Return of the King syndrome, right? Yeah, see, it's not just me. Like, Greg Stilson is Donald Trump. It's crazy. There's an episode of The Outer Limits Stephen King wrote, Catherine O'Hara and Steven Weber. She accidentally shoots herself in the head and starts hallucinating. Yikes. I never saw that. But my point is, so I'm biased towards the Dead Zone, and I realize it might actually just be good, but I'm going to put it in great because of all the reasons I just listed to you. Firestarter's average. Danse Macabre. So here's, I really liked Stephen King on writing. I thought on writing was, why is this on? Christ. I thought on writing was, I'm not sure how old I was when I read it. I thought it was amazing. I should say I thought on writing was amazing. There's not Danse Macabre is one of his another non-fiction book. So I think those are the only two here. On Writing and Danse Macabre. Those are the only two non-fiction books that he's written? That's crazy. Anyway, I didn't love Danse Macabre. I don't really remember it that well. I just remember that it didn't do much for me. Do we put it? I'm not gonna put it in poor though. I'm gonna put it in average. Roadwork I read, but I don't remember. I don't remember this. This must have been a Bachman book, right? Maybe I can jog my memory. Okay. Barton Dawes, it's not stirring something in me. I don't know. Did I not read Roadwork? Highway construction puts him out of his home and simultaneously puts him out of work and simultaneously forces him out of his home. I want to say that I read Roadwork and I just don't remember anything about it. And based on that, I'm throwing it in poor. Now, Cujo is a book that a lot of people don't really like. But I think it's freaking amazing. It is a sort of a locked room book, a locked car book. I don't remember if the whole book takes place in the car, but the majority of the book is a mother and child trapped in their car trying to cover this distance where this dog, Cujo, is out for their blood. And by the end of the book, it turns out that Cujo was actually not out for their blood. He was protecting them, and they adopt Cujo, and they live happily together. It's not actually what happens. I thought Cujo was a taut, fast thriller. I don't remember how fast I read it, but fast, because it was hard to put down, and it's pretty short. In that way, it reminds me of Carrie. I feel like I can feel, kind of like when reading Philip K. Dick, you can feel the amphetamines that were being consumed by the author during the time when there's like frenetic writing, just like febrile, just like a burst, almost make you out of breath as you're reading it. And in my mind, Cujo was like that. So I'm gonna put that up here. Let's put it in great. I can't say that Cujo's better than The Dead Zone, really. Okay, so The Gunslinger. I loved The Gunslinger. Loved it. Was very, very excited for the continuing saga of The Gunslinger. Loved the mood. Loved some of the characterizations. Loved the kid, I think. Was he? I don't know if he was in the first one. I don't remember what happened in book 1, book 2, book 3. Loved the train, although that's when it started getting a little weird for me. Look, I love weird, like in a horrifying, uncanny way. I love that kind of weird. I don't like the kind of weird where it's like, I don't know, your umbrella starts talking to you, and turns out the umbrella is, it's not meant to be comedy, right? The umbrella starts talking to you. It turns out umbrellas are aliens from another planet, and we've cultivated them because they just so happen to deflect rain really well. And imagine if that's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be unnerving. It's not. It's just stupid. It just rubs me the wrong way. So you'll see, like, as this goes on, progressive Gunslinger books go down for me. Although like I said, I've not read Beyond Wolves of the Kala, I think it's called. But the first Gunslinger, amazing. Running Man, that was a Bachman book. I'm putting that as good. Like, I liked it. It's fine. The movie was but the book was pretty good. Different Seasons. So Different Seasons has The Body in it, which was made into Stand By Me, and a couple of other short stories in it. Not many, if I recall. But I gotta look up. I gotta look up what they are. Otherwise, how can I accurately judge it? Oh, so this is the one with Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. Apt Pupil, The Body, and The Breathing Method. I think all of these, I think even The Breathing Method was made into a movie, wasn't it? At least 3 of these were made into movies. 2 of them are arguably some of top tier movies. Stand By Me, which is made from The Body, and Shawshank Redemption. Some of the greatest movies of their kind, right? Apt Pupil, not so great. Hey, guess what? You discovered that person living next door to you ends up being a Nazi who relocated here after the war. Used to be a concentration camp guard. That's Apt Pupil in a. I didn't know they had subtitles that were for the seasons. So Shawshank Redemption is Hope Springs Eternal. Apt Pupil is Summer of Corruption, which makes sense, right? The Body is Fall from Innocence. Breathing Method is A Winter's Tale. That's interesting. Didn't know that. So how can you rate something that, even though, like I said, like Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption doesn't have the story that exists in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, The Body does, I think, pretty much have the story that's in Stand By Me, more or less. I think these were great. Probably, if not amazing, maybe even top 5. I mean, I watched Stand By Me recently with my son, and he loved it, and I loved it just as much as I loved it when I was a kid, and I want another Coke. So stay right there. I'll be right back. Ooh, let's go to the standby screen. Be right back. All right. Whoop. All right, where were we? We just did different seasons. Okay. All right, so now we're on another one that stands out to me for a couple of reasons. I again, like, I may be a little biased here, in part because of the movie. I very distinctly remember going to see this movie with my mom and my sister in Jacksonville or Gainesville. I think while going to see my sister's college or something like that. My sister was looking at colleges when this movie came out. I had read the book, but I wanted to see the movie. My recollection is that the movie was cleaved fairly closely to the book. And some of the characterization in the movie was just fantastic. The kid that played Gage, like, there's so many lines. I want to play with you. Daddy, I want to play with you. And he's just holding a scalpel. The Zelda, that gave me nightmares. The image of Zelda in the bed when she, like, they've got the wide angle lens and she comes out of the bed and, you know, her back is all screwed up and her skin is just like stretched across her face and you can see the skull beneath the skin of her face. Terrifying imagery. And the idea is great. Like, hey, there's this cemetery and brings animals back to life. And, you know, that your kids go away and you know, goldfish dies and you go buy another goldfish. Looks just like the other goldfish. The cat dies. Maybe try burying the cat. See what happens. And then, kid dies. The parent now gets the idea, well, if we bury our kid, bring our kid back to life. And come on, it's got Herman Munster. I forget the actor's name. Don't go down now. Ground is sour. My cousin Vinny. Come on. Nobody. Nothing. Nobody. Nowhere. I'm giving Pet Sematary amazing. And yeah, amazing is getting big. However, we now have a couple of, in my opinion, duds. Was not a fan of Cycle of the Werewolf and was not a fan of Christine. Sorry. To me, this is a little bit of like there's nothing frightening to me about a possessed car. In fact, I'm going to put Cycle of the Werewolf in poor. Keep Christine in average. Get through those real quick. Feel free to disagree. So, Stephen King wrote a couple of books with Peter Straub. This and Black House. Talisman and Black House. Or was Eyes of the Dragon also with... Was Eyes of the Dragon with... No. And they were more fantasy-ish. Black House was... And that... Talisman I read a long time ago. Black House I read comparatively recently. Maybe 10 years ago. Yes, Fred Gwynne, Deadly Nightshade. That's exactly who it was. That ground's gone. Sometimes dead is better. Sometimes dead is better. Don't go down now. Anyway, not a huge fan of the Talisman, although I like Peter Straub. Ghost Story I think is fantastic, right? Talisman for me is average. Eyes of the Dragon, fantasy. I liked it. I read it when I was quite young. I'll put it in good, but I'd be hard-pressed to tell you much about it. There's a lot of traveling involved. It's very similar to a much later book of his. It reminded me in fact, yes, it reminded me a lot of, and we'll talk about it when we get there. Where is it? It's not here. Wait a minute. No. No. What's the Stephen King book where it's recent, where he befriends an old man who lives near a young guy befriends an old man. The old man dies, and like in the old man's shed, there's a portal to like a fantasy world. That's not on here. It's not on here, and it reminded me so much of Eyes of the Dragon. It felt a lot like the same story. Maybe it's more recent. That book's not on here. If anybody knows the name of that book, I would be obliged. Thinner is another one of those taut thrillers to me, but I don't think it reaches the heights of Cujo. Like, a gypsy. I think he hits a gypsy with his car. Gypsy is not the right word anymore, right? Hits a traveling person with his car, and they curse him by saying thinner, and he basically starves to death until he makes amends. But let's get on to Skeleton Crew here, okay? Because I think this is the one with Survivor type in it. Let's see what is in. I think Skeleton Crew, I might like it better than Night Shift, but I have to look at what's in it. Okay. Oh, man. The Mist. Here There Be Tigers. The Monkey. Cain Rose Up. Don't remember. The Jaunt. We'll talk about it in a second. The Raft. The Wedding Gig. Paranoid. Word Processor of the Gods. The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands. Beach World. Reaper's Image. Nona for Owen. Survivor Type. Uncle Otto's Truck. Maybe that's Maximum Overdrive. I don't remember. Morning Deliveries. Big Wheels. Grandma. Ballad of the Flexible Bullet. And The Reach. Okay. So no, I'm not going to put this above Night Shift. But I will say The Mist, The Jaunt, I forgot about The Jaunt, and Survivor Type. Amazing. The Jaunt was almost, it was science fiction, and it made me think about things. It touched on some themes. I don't want to give anything away. It touched on some themes that like some other sci-fi authors were dealing with at the time in a horrifying way. I can't recommend it enough. Read The Jaunt if you can. Read Survivor Type if you can. And then go vegetarian. Oops. No. Oh, no. Stay. Actually, maybe we'll make this. No. Let's keep it where it was. So I'm going to put Skeleton Crew. Where is Night Shift? I'm going to put it great. I don't think it's as consistently good as Night Shift. Night Shift is like almost start to... So first of all, Different Seasons is it's only 4 stories though, but every one of those stories is great. Night Shift is almost every story is great. Like Skeleton Crew, I guess, the fact that I don't remember about 5 of these or 6 of these, it must mean they're not, you know, I mean, I don't remember them for a reason. So when I was in high school, I really enjoy. Okay, so there were a few there were a few things I did in high school, a few things that influenced my reading habits in high school that were reasons that shouldn't have, but they did, for better or for worse, and really it's kind of for worse. Like, if there was a book that was like over 1,000 pages long, or that people said was really, really difficult to read, I wanted to read that book so much. That's so. When Gravity's Rainbow came out, I had to read Gravity's Rainbow. I had to read Ulysses. I had to read. I read Infinite Jest, but that was later. I had to read it. And The Stand too. I had to read. I had to read. Fucking Dianetics guy. Scientology dude. I'm blanking on his name right now. I had to read his decology of Battlefield Earth, or Battlefield Earth. I think it was the decology. It was 10 books. Each one at least 400 pages. And he was not he wrote like 1 or 2 really, really good stories. I think I've recommended, don't get into Scientology, but you could read Fear. Fear was I think a great, fairly short book. I would not read his Battleship Earth technology, and that's the same reason. And then I was into another author whose name I'm blanking on. Let's see if I can find him based on this. I think who is this? The guy who was writing. Every book he wrote was like the name of a place, and they were all really, really long books. I'm forgetting his name. Christ. Well, I read him. I read Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. Oh. Sorry, accidentally hit my foot pedal there. Basically, like, if there was, a challenge, if somebody challenged me to read something, I would read it. Or if it was taboo, right? Like, I remember on the day the Satanic Verses came out, I had to have that book on that day and bring it into school and make sure everybody saw that I was walking around with the Satanic Verses in my hand. Which, I don't know who has read. First of all, Salman Rushdie's prose, fantastic. His writing is amazing. Apparently he's. I mean, I know he got stabbed recently, but he's a pretty abhorrent human being. But Satanic Verses has a provocative title. The book itself was, I don't know really what was provocative about it. I guess to Muslims. L. Ron Hubbard, thank you, Olevi, of course. If I don't get the name of this other author, I'm gonna freak out. Did he have a book called Civilization? No, it's not who I'm thinking about. He often wrote about like the American South or the West, like the Dakotas. Shit. The books, the covers were always just like pictures of like a vast prairie. It's not Cormac McCarthy. I would not forget Cormac McCarthy. Something's like historical fiction. I read a lot of John Irving too. Like everything John Irving wrote, I would read. Anyway, like what do you say? What do you say? I mean, clowns were creepy before it. Like it was not the genesis of the idea that clowns are horrifying to kids. But like the opening of it, like just killing a kid in the first like 30 or 40 pages. There's some real, there's pedophilia in it. There's group sex in it. There's, I think you can you definitely feel that Stephen King was trying to be provocative and was popping some pills of some kind or another while writing it. Now, this is why it, for me, is not going in the top 5. The ending sucked. The ending was horrible. It ruined the book for me. All of this, the pathos and the sort of all the sort of build up and the backstory and the horrors that these kids went through and everything leading up to this confrontation with Pennywise, and it turns out to be just like creepy spider creature, like weird giant spider, and then a bunch of tortoises. Like just come on, like stick the landing on this 1,200 page masterpiece. But I don't know, he didn't. So I will take the ire and put it in amazing. I think The Shining's better than it. Actually, I'm gonna do this. I think the again, the gunslinger, like I have to count the fact that it went downhill, so I'll leave that where it is for now. Drawing of 3. One of the last gunslinger, but I'm going to put it in great. One of the last gunslinger books that I really enjoyed. I loved, like there was a section on the train, on Blame the Train, even though it was Blame the Train. Like even at that point, I was just kind of like, Blame the Train, really? Kind of, that's what's going on here. I'm so negative. I'm such a cynic. I recently watched the Conan O'Brien Hot Ones, and it was so funny and so brilliant. And I watched a whole bunch more Conan O'Brien stuff, and he has a section where he talks about like how much he dislikes cynics, and I felt like he was like talking to me. And then the more I listened to it, the more I felt like he was talking to himself. Like I feel like he is a self-hating cynic trying to battle his own cynicism. And that's partly where his absurdist, because he's an absurdist, and absurdism is right there. It's right next to nihilism. They're next door neighbors, and cynicism's hand in hand with that stuff. So, but it did make me feel like, what, like, is that what my life is? Like just talking shit about other stuff. What do I do that's any good? If I I spend so much of my time, like my creative output time, trying to get some objectivity on what I'm doing so that the objective version of myself judges what I do and does not find it wanting. And I do that in a lot of ways, right? Like if I'm writing music or writing poetry or writing a short story or something like that, I will write it and then like not look at it for a long time. And then I'm like, I'm going to look at this again. I will purposely sort of like blank my mind, or I have a lot of like voice memos of like song ideas, right? And I won't listen to them for a long time. Let's see, what's this one? This is going to be embarrassing, I'm sure. Kindness conflicts with sincerity. Love is a word we know too well. Thread that needle. It's gonna be the death of me. Just leave me lying. All right, I mean that's a. I was trying to write a. I was talking to somebody about their philosophical views and what it means to be a good person. And their response was, I think you just need to be a kind and sincere person. And my response was, well, what do you do when kindness conflicts with sincerity? And I thought, ooh, that's a good lyric. So then I picked it up and I was just like, when kindness conflicts with sincerity, and love is a word we know too well. I just sort of trying to come up with something around that phrase and that idea. But anyway, so I'll do stuff like that and then I'll leave it in there and go back and listen to it a month or two later and see if before I become refamiliar with it, there's a period of time where I can listen to it as if it were not mine. And in that brief period of time, I can evaluate it and be like, do I think there's something there or not? Because I'm so cynical. Like the worst thing I feel like I could do is create something. Right. And trying to get over that. Been trying to get over that my whole life. Amy, that's so sweet of you to say. It's very kind. Thank you. So anyway, Conan's advice is don't be a cynic. And I'm pretty cynical and pretty negative about a lot of stuff. Oh well. Misery. Come on. It's amazing. It is a locked room. I'm a fan of Inside Number 9. I'm a fan of The Hateful Eight. I'm a fan of Rope. I'm a fan of any sort of, if the framework is the Sunset Limited, right? The framework is a couple of people or several people in one place and a bunch of shit happens. I love that. Love exploring that. Misery does that so well, and it really explores the idea of fandom so well. I do think the movie, I'd have to reread the book. In my head right now, the movie actually improved on the book. In the book, Annie chops off his. I remember Annie's name, but I don't remember the author's name. Cuts off his feet. In the movie, she takes a sledgehammer and just like hobbles him, just cracks his. Oh my god, yeah. It's so much more horrifying, I think, than cutting your feet off. Even though like you can heal from what Annie did. Oh, Deadly Nightshade. Well, I'm not gonna move it because that's your opinion that you want it top tier. I'm not. I want to hear everybody's opinions, but I'm not gonna put something in a tier where I don't want it because this is my personal tier list. But it's pretty close. I mean, it's on the same level as it. I think most people would flay me for that and say, "Are you fucking kidding? It is so much better than Misery." I think they're wrong. So here's a story I've told before about the dangers of not understanding your element or where you are or the context of where you are and how it can be dangerous to your life. One of the first times I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Paul Sheldon, yes. And James Caan did him such a great job. Such a great job. And oh my God, it just, like, the casting in that movie was perfect. Everything. She was horrifying. She was horrifying. And yet compelling, right? Like, I wanted to keep watching. It wasn't one of those things where great. And if that movie comes on, I will watch it. Like, I will, stop what I'm doing and I will continue. I will watch Misery whenever it's on. So, yeah, first times I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, went fly fishing, born and raised in Miami, gotten some sunburns in my life. We were supposed to be out there for 2 weeks. I think that maybe we went fly fishing like a week in. And after several hours of being on the Snake River fly fishing, which was so much fun, by the way, I haven't done that much fly fishing since then. I've done a lot of, I've done deep sea fishing. I've done, shoals fishing, canal fishing, lake fishing, but not much fly fishing, but it is a blast. And then I started to feel sick, like feverish. And I did not realize, much like with the eclipse, and it's allowing you to stare at the sun and damage your retinas, I did not realize that, like, hey, it was like 55 degrees out, so I felt nice and cool. But the sun was out, and I got the worst sunburn of my life. The rest of that trip was ruined for me. It was 4 full days where I was essentially just in a room, could not get comfortable, feverish. I had sun poisoning. Like, I was there. I'm probably still suffering some effects from that, and it was forever ago. But I read Tommyknockers. My mom at the time, I want to say this was right after my dad died. So, yeah, read Tommyknockers while I was in this just bizarre, pain-racked, hallucinatory, couldn't sleep, missing out on everything that was going on afterwards. It's a terrible experience, but I really, really enjoyed the Tommyknockers. When I think about it now, in retrospect, I remember the poem, the children's chant. Late last night and the night before, Tommyknockers, Tommyknockers knocking at your door. Want to go out? Don't know if I can because I'm so afraid of the Tommyknocker man. I remember the basic plot, but it doesn't stick with me that much. So I'm putting it in good. The Dark Half. I read The Dark Half because I worked on an adventure game that licensed the IP from The Dark Half. I worked for the publisher. This is the first company I ever worked at. I was maybe 18 or 19 years old. Had to watch the movie several times, read the book. It didn't grab me. It was not my favorite. It was not even close to my favorite. I'm not going to say it's poor, but I will say for me, it is average. 4 Past Midnight. I think I really liked this, but let's look up what's in it. I don't know why I'm using my phone for this when I have my laptop right here. How's everybody's Saturday night going? All right. 4 Past Midnight. The Langoliers. Secret Window, Secret Garden. Library Policeman. The Sundog. Not great. I mean, the Langoliers this is the one about the plane, right? Or the yeah, psychic abilities. Yes. Yeah, I remember this. I didn't love it. Secret Window, Secret Garden. Didn't like it. Library Policeman. I think I liked this one, but I don't. Sundog, I think I liked. Yes. But this is not. Different Seasons Part 2. This is not that. Surely. Let's put 4 Past Midnight at average. I'm sorry. Needful Things. Needful Things is interesting because I don't feel like it needed to be a book. It's kind of like Salem's Lot, in that it covers this whole idea of this eccentric, rich, but strange person, coming into a new town and conflicting with people and the ways they're set in their ways, etc. And there was a Rick and Morty that was, based on the plot of Needful Things. He's the devil, and he sells people things that backfire on them, like a typewriter that allows you to write best-selling murder novels, but then the murders actually happened, right? Like stuff like that. I liked it. I also remember, so I was also going to do a video on it, as the Max von Sydow character from the movie. I liked it. I don't know that it needed to be a book. I think it could have been a short story. I'm going to put that as good. The Wastelands. So, no, yeah, this is still good. Wait a minute. What? This is the second book. Maybe these aren't in order. These aren't in order. Hold on. What is the order of these puppies? Dark Tower books. Okay. Oh no, it's just confusing because book 2 is called The Drawing of the Three. Wastelands, I loved. Continuing the Dark Tower, but it was, still descending. I'm going to put it right up there with Drawing of the Three, though. Gerald's Game. It's in the Cujo Carey realm for me. I think I maybe read it in a day, I agree with this, Amy. Quick, tight. Like I like the kind of, it's like a real world scenario, things gone wrong. I'm gonna put this as great. I almost want to put it as amazing, but it's not quite at the misery level, is it? Dolores Claiborne. It's hard for me to remember much about Dolores Claiborne. I mean, I remember they did another movie with the same actress, whose name I'm forgetting also. Let me remind myself. Oh, isn't this like Rose Madder? This is not. Yeah, I remember this. I do remember Dolores Claiborne, but not in any kind of great detail. Kathy Bates stated in a retrospective interview that her performance as the titular Dolores was her favorite performance she'd ever given. No, come on. She's going to put that above Annie Wilkes? Come on. I mean, I saw the movie. I liked the movie too. I'm going to put Dolores Claiborne good. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. What do we got in Nightmares and Dreamscapes? Got some. Let's get a nice airy kind of. Oh, I like this. Yeah. Welcome back. I'm so-and-so, and there's another episode of Serial. Okay, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. No, I just want the Wikipedia article. Come on. I want the book, not the. Oh, they made a mini-series about it. Many years ago. Oh, yes, I do remember this. So Battleground, Crouch End, Umney's Last Case. I remember Umney's Last Case. I liked that a lot. The End of the Whole Mess. Don't remember that. The Road Virus Heads North. Fifth Quarter, Autopsy Room 4. I remember that. And they got a hell of a band. I remember that, right? Which I didn't. It was just like a, hey, what if, Jimi Hendrix and Elvis and all these people were playing in a band together. No. Mostly miss for me on Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Insomnia is interesting in that it was a very long book. I remember reading it in my early 20s. And I can tell you almost nothing about it. Based on that alone, average. Rose Matter, good. The Regulators. Okay, so now there are some of these here in this upcoming. Let's see where that are they're fractitious. Is that? Yes. And this is one of them. So I really, really liked The Regulators. I like the idea of like, bad cops. Wait a minute. Or am I thinking of Desperation? Wait a second. I might be confusing Desperation and The Regulators. No, oh, okay. Yeah, they were. Okay, so, right. The Regulators and Desperation are like mirror images of the same book. Yeah, I liked this a lot. Yep. And I feel like they both need to kind of go together. But I'm not going to put them in great. I'm just going to put them in good. Good's getting big. Okay. Here's where people get mad at me. Not a fan of the Green Mile. So here's Stephen King's continuing his magical African American. Got The Shining, to some extent, Shawshank Redemption. There's another one in here that I mentioned when I placed it. Which one was it? I don't know, but The Green Mile is one of them. I didn't even really like the movie, to be honest with you. Like, it felt a little pandery to me, and it was long, and I'm gonna put The Green Mile in poor, to me, which is also where I'm gonna put Wizard and Glass, because that's the one. Well, wait, no, actually, I think it was the one after. Wizard and Glass is probably still good. The one after Wizard and Glass. What's the order here? Yeah, The Wind Through the Keyhole, Wolves of the Calla, no. Song of Susanna, no. Nope. All those are going to be poor for me. Bag of Bones. I think I liked Bag of Bones a lot. There was a collection of Stephen King stories that's relatively recent. I was shocked at like how brutal it was. Was it Bag of Bones? Let's see. Oh wait, no, this is a novel. I have to. I guess Bag of Bones kind of sounds like a good name for an anthology book. Reuses many basic plot elements of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. I don't remember this much. The narrator is a best-selling novelist, suffers writer's block, Wife dies from a brain aneurysm. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this. Yeah, there's a ghost. Psychic connection. Yeah. The writer suffering writer's block and getting through it with a psychic connection is a theme with some of the later Stephen King books. He mixed it up a little bit. He basically did the same thing with Doom McKee, except he made it an artist or a visual artist instead of a writer. I'm going to put Bag of Bones down here, man. Now, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, to me, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, this can't be right because that's a much later book. Let me see. When was this written? Yeah, 2004. Hearts in Atlantis was way before that. Yeah. So these are not in... Maybe they're in rough order. I loved The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. Again, like, tight. Not a bunch of wibbly wobbly stuff going on. Not a lot psychic tendrils coming out of nowhere. Girl's lost in the forest. She's being hunted. It is what it is, right? And what it is, to me, is great. Hearts in Atlantis, a little maudlin, a little mining the vein of the body a little bit to me. On writing, read this, loved it. I'm going to put it in amazing. Thought it was very revealing. I liked, he did something interesting. I don't recall exactly what he did, but he did something interesting at the end where he wrote like a couple of chapters. I forget what he did, but I remember reading it and being like, oh, that was great. That was great that he did that. Dreamcatcher, another one of the ones that is kind of, I'm not sure how to, the word for these is just sort of like mushy. It's like it's not really clear. Like the protagonist has a problem and there's this kind of vague, never really clarified alternate dimension kind of psychic connection kind of thing, manifesting in different ways, maybe giving him some powers, but then there's also like a dark part of it that's chasing him, sort of like Frodo putting on the ring. And I feel like there's a lot of his books that are sort of based around that same idea and makes that average. I actually want to put Dreamcatcher as poor. Let's do it. Black House, same thing. Same thing. Kid goes into a fantasy world. A lot. I mean, if it were done better, it'd be Gunslinger, right? From a Buick 8, I want to say I think I liked that a lot. But it is like Christine, sort of. Yeah, it's the car that's like it was a cop car, but it's like a living thing. But my recollection is that I liked it. Even though like I'm talking about, I'm like, how did I really like this? So let me just put it in good. If you choose to read anything from King, would you read the chapter from On Writing about the van accident that nearly killed him? I think if I was going to read something from him here, it would probably be Survivor Type or Strawberry Spring. But I remember what you're talking about there, and it being pretty chilling. And it essentially made him, he woke up an addict again. So everything's eventual. I think that's another anthology. Writing more anthologies as time goes on, right? Yeah. But some of these are Autopsy Room 4. We've already seen that. This does have 1408, which I think is a really good story. This is like a weird melange of things, some things that existed in other books. The Road Buyers Heads North, Lunch at the Gotham Cafe. We've already seen these in other books. That's bizarre. Because of that, I'm going to put in an average. Wolves of Calla? No. No, man. No. Song of Susanna? No. Dark Tower? No. Is this the Colorado Kid? Is this the one about... No, Joyland is what I'm thinking of. But I think this is... The Colorado Kid, I think, is similar to Joyland. Yeah. I think I read this book. If I didn't, I definitely want to. Huh. Because I really enjoyed Joyland. And it's similar, apparently. I maybe did not read The Colorado Kid. So, awful. So, Lisi's story, that is... This is another kind of, like, Dumaki is kind of like this. He's done a few books comparatively recently where it is like somebody goes off the edge. We covered a few that are similar to this. Kind of goes off the edge or has writer's block or something like that. And then they go to like an isolated area or they encounter something that opens up a new world to them somehow, right? Having said that, I think with Lisi's story, it's like her dead husband, which is a lot of that. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's not distinctive enough to really stand out from any of this other stuff. So Blaze, I really liked. Maybe I might have been conflating Blaze with Rage, but I don't remember much about Blaze. Let's put that in average. Dumaki is essentially like Lisi's story and what are some of these others? I mean, it's about a guy who's an artist who goes and lives on this fictional key on the west coast of Florida called Dumaki, and he starts to paint, and the things that he paints start to actually happen. I mean, that's average at best, man. So Just After Sunset, is that the one that is brutal? Gingerbread Girl. Gingerbread Girl is great. Cat from Hell. No, I hated that. That very type. No. So there's a couple of what I consider good. Rest Stop, I think, is good. A couple of stories here that I considered good, but a couple was kind of hit or miss. Whoops. So let's put Just After Sunset in average. It's really filling up. Under the Dome. Not my cup of tea. Didn't like it. Couldn't get into the premise. Didn't like the TV series. Didn't like the Simpsons movie. Oh, I think it's Full Dark No Stars. I think that's the one. Yeah, 1922, Big Driver, Fair Extension, and A Good Marriage. Really dark stories in this one. Like a sort of return to form, in my opinion, right? After some anthologies that were more lackluster. I would almost put this in great. I'm going to put it in great. I'll put it in great. Let's just to get the Colorado Kid out of here, I'm putting it in average because I haven't read it. So 11/22/63. That's another polarizing one. God, man, I'm describing some of these stories and it's making me be like, wow, is that really what the story is about? Guy finds a door like in a shop, like a cellar door in a shop, and when he goes down into it, he comes out in 1963, just before JFK is shot. No, it's actually months before, and he spends months living in 1963, and sort of insinuating himself into the. It just sounds terrible to say. Like, it's just not. It sounds like a dumb story. And I'm not saying that it's great, but I enjoyed it. A lot of what I enjoy about Stephen King is not necessarily like the story itself, but the way it was written, and the things that he says along the way, the fun we have along the way. What is this? Dark Tower? What is this? It's too hard to see that one. Is that the final one? It doesn't matter if it's the final one. It's going in here. Dr. Sleep. So Dr. Sleep is the the continuation. It's not really a sequel. It's the continuation of The Shining. And it introduces a whole bunch of new. I kind of feel like it just shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been The Shining. It shouldn't have connected itself to The Shining. It would have been fine on its own. The story, I think, was strong enough. The Rose the Hat and that group that she's with, and the True Knot. I feel like that stuff was strong enough. It didn't really need to be connected to The Shining, but fine. That's fine. I thought that was good. Joyland is a great noirish read about a carnival and a mystery, and I don't want to say too much about it, but I thought it was really, really good. I'm putting it great. I think Joyland was great. And I really like the Mr. Mercedes series. So it's Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, End of Watch, and the recently published Holly, which the recently published Holly is the weakest of the group because it gets a little too magic-y, man. Again, Hey, Stacy, how are you doing? He's like doing, he's doing fine, and then he has to introduce the magic. So, Mr. Mercedes, we'll put that in great. Okay. Revival, I think, is brilliant. It's pretty different from a lot of Stephen King books, the way that it's presented. And it's one of those books that for me, like, just hooked me right from the first couple of paragraphs. I can I know the scene, like when one of the characters meets another one of the characters because he's the new preacher in town. It's a little similar to Midnight Mass. And the kid's playing with the soldiers in the dirt, and the preacher comes and talks to the boy, and this preacher ends up being a significant character in this boy's life across the course of the book, which the book takes place over many, many years of this person's life. Again, maybe the ending is a little bit. I mean, the ending's so much better than any of like these Deus Ex Machina pulling magic out of the hat stuff that I'm not even gonna complain about the ending. I'm putting this in amazing revival, which I'm sure will be a most people would not agree with that, but I loved it. Finders Keepers, very, very good. Very good. Right up there with the others in that trilogy. Bizarre Bad Dreams, I gotta look up. His newest book coming out is called, it's not out yet, but You Like It Darker. So I'm hoping it's really quite. Mile 81, Premium Harmony, Batman and Robin have an altercation, The Dune. I don't remember any of these. I remember These names are giving me nothing, which is not a good sign. Shit. I'm going to have to put it in average because I've read it, but no idea. No idea. End of Watch. Again, that is a Bill Hodges story. Love those. Sleeping Beauties, he wrote with his son Owen. Who knows how much Owen actually wrote? It's not great. So The Outsider. Outsider is started really. I'm saying this again, like started really, really strong, and then turned into a bunch of magical bullshit. The idea at first was that everybody kind of has a doppelganger, right? And the problems that could arise from that situation. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And then about halfway through the book, he pulled out here's the chapter where we reveal that it's all magic. Average. We're getting to the end here. Elevation. I have no idea what this is. Oh, it's a novella. I think I probably didn't read this. It's not a 144 pages. The plot details are: Scott Carey faces a mysterious illness which causes bizarre effects on his body. makes him rapidly lose weight, even if he appears healthy on the outside. While battling this disease with his trusted doctor, he also tries fixing a dire situation involving a lesbian couple trying to open a restaurant surrounded by a disapproving public. Okay. Don't know. Didn't read it. I'll put it in average. Gwendy's button box. Too magical. Didn't like it. Didn't enjoy it. I'll put that in poor. Institute. So much like so many of his other stories. It's basically Stranger Things. The story of 11, right? Like, kids with psychic powers are being kept by the Institute. And when they're found out that they have powers, they're having those powers trained and et cetera, et cetera. Poor. If it bleeds, average. Now, there's a couple of Stephen King books that aren't on here that have come out. Holly is okay. It's not great. Let's see. Man, he's written so much. It's crazy. Billy Summers. So Billy Summers is the book that was about the boy who meets the old man, and then it turns out the old man has a shed with a magical portal going into a fantasy world. Or was that Fairy Tale? Wait, no, that was Fairy Tale. Yeah, that was Fairy Tale. Sorry. Billy Summers. Oh, right. Billy Summers is good. And it involves a hitman. And it is, more on the realistic side, which I love. So Billy Summers was I would have put that as at least good. Fairy Tale I would have put as average or poor. Holly I probably would have put as average. Later, I missed the Colorado Kid, and I missed Later. I'm gonna have to look at these because I really liked Joyland. It's a really nice change of pace. So, top 5, we only have a top 2. Let's remedy that. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to be it. I think On Writing can go up there. I think Night Shift can go up there. And shit. Yeah, Gunslinger. Yeah. So my favorite Stephen King book, period, it probably is The Stand. Like, my least favorite is probably one of the later Gunslinger books, in part because of how it just sort of destroyed the promise that those earlier books had. So, there you go. Stephen King. I like that they have a place that you can just get. You have those templates ready to go. Because doing that by hand would have been a pain in the butt. I thought about doing it before. But because it would be so difficult, I figured it wasn't worth it. All right, let's go back on. Let's see if any developments. So now the vast majority of the Iranian barrage was shot down,
according to Israeli official. Okay. Hundreds of Israeli settlers attack Palestinian villages in the occupied West Bank after missing Israeli boy found dead. All right. That's just wonderful. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. And, probably went largely unnoticed that FISA was reapproved. So the Foreign Intelligence Securities Act, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which was originally, created to allow us to surveil citizens without warrant, etc. And now we can just do it some more forever. We never need a reason to do anything because we're the United States, and when we do a drone strike, it's justified, and there's a good reason for it. Someone else does it. Okay. All right, so that was fun for me. Actually, sort of getting some of those books I hadn't thought about in years, and some trends that sort of came out that I weren't apparent to me because I never really thought about as oeuvre in that way. Like just so many books about a dude who has writer's block and relies on magic to get out of it. And with that, thank you for coming to another episode of Beyond the Double Red Doors, where we play weird arpeggiated pseudo music underneath the outro. I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Good night.